Hey everyone, and welcome to the very special Axiom-QnA video and cut content. It's just an unscripted mess, so we're just going to get on with all the fun, and I'll answer the questions that were given to me, and I'll share some tidbits that weren't even known about. So yeah, I want to first start this off by saying thank you to everyone who has watched Axiom and supported me through Axiom. That means the world to me, more than any of you will ever know. It's just, I'm a writer first and foremost. Before I'm a YouTuber, before I'm a painter, I'm a writer. So seeing the love I get for this series, it just makes me so happy. So I thank everyone who has watched this. Oh yes, but I actually had stuff that was cut out of the story. There was a lot of stuff I cut out, including an entire prologue section. The 8 years later prologue I had... Oh, wait, would this be prologue? No, this is epilogue. Excuse me. I misspoke. The 8 years later epilogue, that was actually a post-credit scene. After the story would wrap up, that would play. There was an intended prologue, but I cut it completely for two reasons. One was it alluded to a sequel. And I didn't want that. I didn't want it to allude to anything. I had to cut it because that was... I can't have that. And another reason why I was cut, art restraints. Doing the art for this series was a pain in the butt. And I didn't want to do another chapter's worth of art for this. I know that's a lazy excuse. Call me Game Freak if you want. But just... time restraints, and I was like, I just want to get done with this series. But yeah, I'll read that in a little bit, but I don't know. I just want to point out one fact. I know no one's caught this, because it's unless you know this Dante's Inferno, you won't catch this, even though I kind of hinted at it towards certain chapters. But all 15 chapters of Axiom, if you take them in certain sections as they come, like chapters 1 and 2, that's a certain section. Chapter 13, 14, 12, 13, and 14 are a certain section. I'll be using 12, 13, and 14, Flesh and Blood, Agony, and the Omega as an example for this. Every single chapter is based off a circle of hell, according to Dante's Inferno. That's what one of the ideas I had for Axiom was to... it was very inspired by Dante's Inferno, by Dante Alighieri, the Divine Comedy. It's a epic poem from a long time ago. I very highly recommend reading it. It's a strange read, but it's interesting. If you're unfamiliar with the mythology of hell, hell is broken down into 9 circles, not counting limbo. You go through lust, greed, gluttony, agony. Agony's not a circle of hell. Anger, violence, treachery, blasphemy. It's a list, and treachery's at the bottom. All these chapters, the certain groups I had them in. For example, I'm going to be using the 3 chapters for 12 to 14. All 3 of those chapters represent the circle of violence in hell. Flesh and Blood, chapter 12, represents violence to others. Agony represents violence to oneself. And the Omega represents violence against God. Those are how the circle of violence is broken down in Dante's Inferno. Violence unto others, violence unto yourself, violence unto God. And that's exactly what those 3 chapters represent in this whole story. In chapter 5, the way it used to be, or whatever the chapter was called, I believe that one was treachery, where Violet betrays Dante, where she's still working for Looker. But things like that. Greed was definitely Rust, where Dante bought Fugo Ironworks. So yeah, you get the idea now. But I promised I would read the cut content, and I'm going to do just that now. I will be not doing voices for this, so... Epilogue, quote-unquote cut content. Hearthome City is alive with celebration, even well into the night. Upon beginning their journey again, both Dante and Violet agreed to carry out the same events that they did the first time if possible. He waited until she was asleep in the Pokemon Center to venture out into the nightlife of Hearthome. He has made this walk 3 times now, so he knows his way to the Archean Cathedral like the back of his hand. Dante looks up at the grand doors and wonders what he will find. He has no expectations anymore with all that he has been through. He takes each step one by one. The memories of another lifetime haunt him. Violet often finds him waking up screaming for his life. She holds him close and strokes his hair until he falls back to sleep. There are times Dante will share his thoughts and nightmares with her, but most time he only clams up and refuses to explain the atrocities he has done. These are his demons, and in time he's sure he will be able to share them all with Violet. But first he has to forgive himself for what he did. The doors are heavy, but Dante makes sure they close quietly. He walks past the aisles of pews, gently touching each as he passes. He sits down in the front row, looking up at the golden ring. Tears begin to well up in his eyes as more flashes of time that was play before him, reminding him of the terrible things he has done. Dante is so lost in his mind's torture he doesn't even hear the priestess approach him. "Welcome to our Lord's home, my child. Is there something I can help you with?" Ardra's voice is soft and caring as any person of the cloth would talk. Dante turns to her and with a sad smile, "Hello, Ardra." The priestess looks down at him, a little shocked that he knows her name. "I'm sorry, but have we met?" He lets slip a defeated laugh. "In another time, perhaps, we did. Forgive me." "Who are you exactly?" Ardra questions. The air in the cathedral shifts, almost as if something in time has changed. "He is Dante Lark," Gardevoir says as she appears in front of the ring altar. "He has lived and died and completed a dark destiny and yet prevented it." Dante stands and takes a step towards her. "You remember, don't you? You remember everything like Violet and I do." She nods with a gentle smile. "I am so sorry for everything, Gardevoir, for not listening, for hurting you. I am a monster for what I did." "No, Dante Lark, do not see yourself as a monster. You paid for your transgressions and you made it so none of it would ever happen again. In fact, because of the destruction of the book, none of those actions that you took ever happened. You altered the fabric of time, Dante. You will never travel to Craft Island. The Harbinger doesn't exist. The Gatekeeper will never be revived. The world's end will never come thanks to you." Gardevoir smiles and places a hand on his shoulder. "You are no longer the Destroyer, Dante Lark. You have fulfilled the promise you made to Arceus after he gave you a second chance at life. You freed yourself from Destiny's shackles." Ardra looks at the two as confusion fills her. She has no memory of Dante, but it is clear that Gardevoir is talking about. "You are a fateless one," Ardra says in disbelief. Gardevoir nods in agreement. "He is, a vessel without destiny, able to change the strings of fate of anyone." "What does that mean?" Dante asks. He can already feel his stomach nodding in fear of what all this means. "It means you can prevent even destiny itself," Ardra starts. "Think of the forces of destiny and fate as a river. Everything flows, and while the direction of the river can be altered, it always reaches the ocean. You, Dante, you can change where the river flows in any way you deem fit, or even stop it." Dante ponders this news. He was never one to believe in old legends before, but after everything he has been through, he doesn't question it. So is this just another curse like keeping the knowledge of the book and everything I've done? His voice rings with defeat. Depression pulls him down, feeling like he will never escape. "No, Dante Lark, this is no curse," Gardevoir says with a smile. "This is a great gift to be able to save many from feeling the cruel sting of fate." "So what now then?" Dante questions, still unsure of what any of this means. "It means you have a journey to continue, Dante Lark. A journey that will change the world. A journey that will shape the future for you, your love, and even your children. Your greatest endeavor has only just begun, Dante Lark." And that is the cut prologue. As you can probably tell, it alluded to Dante's story continuing. And once I get to the questions and answer part of this, I will be pointing out that that's not going to happen. Dante's story is finished. This is the finale of Dante's story. Granted, yes, Dante has PTSD from living the other life, from existing in a time that will never exist again. From all the horrors he done and all the atrocities he committed, it messed him up. It bothers him. It haunts him. Those are his demons to bear. That's his cross to bear. And that will always ring true, no matter what. I know I don't show it in the 8 years later epilogue. It's still there. Dante is still haunted. That's why he created the Chimera Preservation Group. Do the good that the Chimera Corporation did, but not in the evil ways that it did. But yeah, I know it had some important parts to it, but I just had to cut it for many reasons besides that. But the main one was because it alluded to Dante's story continuing, and that's not the case. And we'll start doing the Q&A now with Eric's questions. Thank you for commenting, Eric. Will there be a new Pokemon fanfiction with a brand new protagonist in the future? If the answer is yes, I can't wait to hear it. If the answer is no, that's too bad. I love the fanfiction, and I would love to hear a brand new story with all new characters. Well, thank you. I appreciate these kind of words. Will there be a new Pokemon fanfiction? Yes and no. I do have something planned, but when will it come is the question. The Tajordo project has started. There will be a new protagonist, yes, but that doesn't mean Dante won't be in it, because the new protagonist would be Sebastian Lark and Anastasia Lark. Both of his children would be the protagonists of this new story. But another thing is, if I write that, I would like to present it to you, present it to everyone, present it to this entire channel, if this channel even exists by the time this happens, as a Pokemon fan game. But I would play it on the channel, definitely, so I can give you the full experience of the story. But this has been a project I've been slowly working on parallel to Axiom. I've been creating an entire Pokedex full of Pokemon for this very project. So to answer your question, will there be a new Pokemon fanfiction? Yes, with an asterisk. In time, eventually. With a brand new protagonist in the future? Yes. Yes, there will be. In time, there will be. Thank you for asking that, Eric. Moving on to the second question from my friend Sarah. I know you really enjoyed it, and I know you had some little inside information on this story. But as Sarah commented, well, you know I approve the ending. In terms of questions, I know Dante's trilogy has ended, but who's to say it can't continue through someone else, maybe his kids, or like short stories of them or something. Did I tell you about this or something? Did I tell you I planned on doing this? Because you have it down to a T that I planned on doing it with the kids. I must have told you that at one point, or you know me enough to know where I'm taking the story. But for your second question, why did the Damni and Peritum bring them back to the beginning? Were they kids again with the knowledge they gained? Yes, they are kids again. They are, well, I wouldn't call them kids. They're 20 years old in the first story. But yes, they're 20 years old with the memories and the knowledge of those 8 years that have passed that don't exist anymore. That's all exactly what it is. Why did the Damni and Peritum bring them back to that point in time? 2 reasons. One, I thought it would be a great way to make the whole story circular. Make it a cycle. It ends where it began. That's how I always wanted to end this series. But it's also, if you want to get to a technical standpoint, the events of the first book, of the first story of Horizons, all those actions that take place during that timeline are due to the Damni and Peritum. Lucius von Croft wouldn't exist if the Damni and Peritum never granted those wishes for him, even though it was Darius Kane who wished for them. That's such an obscure character that probably no one even remembers. But it brought it back to there because that's the point in their lives where the Damni and Peritum wasn't affecting it. I hope that answers the question. And yes, they have all the knowledge they gained from those 8 years, and they're kids again. And now the final question from a good friend of mine, Dynamax Dangerous, aka at Hand of Galacio. I hope I didn't butcher that. Her question is, if I had the Damni and Peritum, what would I wish for? I've been plotting the answer to this question since she asked it. And originally I was going to give a joke answer. I was originally going to say, oh yeah, I would wish for Catgirls to exist, for Neckos to be a real thing. But due to recent events with Pokemon and Game Freak, I have a real wish now. And it's not for Catgirls, even though I'd probably wish for that too. my wish that I would write into Dom the Imperatum, damning my soul to be part of that book and be pledged to Nemodius, is for the Pokemon games to be given to a competent company. That's it. I would wish for Pokemon to be taken out of the hands of Game Freak and given to a company that can actually produce Pokemon games better. Not cutting content, not making it so past Pokemon friends cannot be transferred to the new games. I'm going to go off into a rant, and I don't want to do that in this video. But yes, I would give Pokemon to maybe Atlas. I know they do great games. They created Shin Megami Tensei, and that's basically the forefather of Pokemon. That gave birth to the monster catching genre. So I would probably wish that's what I would wish for, and whoever wants to take it, as long as it's not EA, I don't care. As long as it's a competent company, and that's it. So I hope you all enjoyed this final video to wrap up Axiom. This is probably the longest video on this playlist now. And I want to just thank you all again for being part of this journey. Axiom's over, but the Tajordo project has begun. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share it around, helps grow the channel, and I really do appreciate it. Become an Emperor of the Phoenix today by subscribing to the channel and follow me on Twitter. Link to that's down in the description below and on the front page of my channel. Go check out the other series I have going on. Mondays and Fridays are Stardew Valley, one of my most beloved favorite games on the channel right now. Tuesdays and Thursdays are Pokemon Uranium. Wednesday's Journey to Pokemon Sword and Shield, which might be commandeered to protest Game Freak. And that's all there is, since Axiom is now over officially. So yeah, if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check it out. And with all that said, this has been Black Phoenix. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.